first of all, thanks everyone for coming here this morning. Thanks KY for accepting our invite. I'm really very much looking forward in distilling, moving from what we discussed this morning, what you heard this morning about more of the overall trends, situation, attack, risk of fraud, expectation in terms of customer experience and changes in regulation, to now moving on to someone who actually had to navigate all of these in reality. So very much thanks a lot for accepting our invite, and I'll go immediately with an initial icebreaker of how did you see this journey of all the digitalization of financial services, people moving more and more onto digital mobile banking platform and accessing their financial services online. How did you see that journey evolving, especially in this region, and potentially it's a trend that we are seeing also globally in terms of course, customer expectation and what consumer expect when they start interacting with a digital bank or a bank going into a digital transformation?
Thanks. It's a very loaded question for an icebreaker. Thanks Entrust for having me and GXBank here. I think overall, Malaysia and regionally as well, I think gone are the days where we really walk into a branch, right? We are way over that, at least to me. I'm not sure how many of you still walk into any branches these days. Like, a show of hands, anyone walk into a branch in the past 3 months? No, actually, nobody dares to put up their hand.
on purpose, not being forced.
Yeah, so I think gone are those days. So very much everybody is really on mobile. In fact, you could see many people's eyes are sticking to their mobile phones, like even right now, right? So I think we have moved along far from going to branches, having served customers face to face. Everything is online. We have all established digitalization as part of our day-to-day lives, right? And probably talking a little about AI, right? Which has actually has done a lot and a lot to learn in the past many months for all of us, even at GXBank and for me personally, right? It's so smart right now that sometimes I got to question my own intellectual, right? And in fact, many times I would tell my team, in times like this where everything is so intelligent, everything is so digital, more and more as we build our products for customers, we need to be more human, to be more humane, right? So, because for us, it's always about solving a problem for customers, but AI could only do to a certain extent, to provide all the foundation and all the right frameworks and thoughts very quickly, right? But it's for us to make it relevant, contextualized, personalized for our end users. Otherwise, all of the digitalization and AI capabilities will just be put to waste.
And thanks a lot. And as you talk about AI expectation of customers, things being contextualized and personalized, what we're seeing is that there's also an expectation of real time, right? The customer wants to have that gratification immediately, whether it's from starting to opening a bank account to accessing financial services product. How are you seeing that impacting your planning, your roadmap, your vision of how you're driving financial services products?
Sure. I think the way we build products at GXBank, we always like to start with the problem statement, right? So in anything that we do, one of my colleagues, Hui Heng here, right, he'll be very clear. We would always ask ourselves, how might we do something? How might we solve X? It's because it's never about the technology. It's never about the product. It's about the person. It's about the customer. If you start off thinking, how can I use AI? That's really wrong, because AI alone doesn't do anything, right? How can I sell something? That's really wrong, because you are trying to shove something down customers' throat, right? So it's only meaningful if we are able to solve real, actual problems, one at a time for the customers, and it's easier said than done, right? So maybe just to put things up clearer, when we try to measure, usually it comes down to, generally, right, it comes down to things that's faster, something that's cheaper, and something that's better. Talking about speed, I think not many of us can wait anything more than 3 seconds. If you launch an app, if you launch a web page today, it doesn't load within 3 seconds, you lost your patience. You will just swipe out, right? I just downloaded a new app, which was an ad advertised to me yesterday. I tried downloading, right? And it took some time. Not the downloading part, but even just the launching part. Things as simple as launching an app, if it takes more than 3 seconds, I'm going to shut it down. That's fast, that's speed, right? Secondly, then, cheaper. So obviously, customers want things to come cheap, things to come good, right? So price is always competitive, but it must not be the only edge that you're fighting on. Otherwise, it will always be a price war, right? It's no longer about value, it's about pricing. And better. Better is where we emphasize a lot in the bank, right? We talk a lot about user experience. So we can go really, really crazy and really deep, talking about even one single button, one single text, right? Endless debates to really make it meaningful and personalized to the customers that we're actually serving.
Well, that's easy. Faster, cheaper, and good quality. That's, of course, a trichotomy that can be tricky to get and to achieve. Now, you've been very much of a disruptor, let's say, right? Presenting a different way of bringing financial services, and your customer base, in some ways, also demographically expect those three things. Is that expectation now more generalized, let's say, and do you feel that also more traditional banks have that challenge, or there's a split in terms of kind of customer base and customer expectation? Like, to put it in more normal terms, should I expect that my grandmother want to open a bank account in 3 seconds, or she would want to walk into a branch?
Sure. I think a few parts. Firstly, we got to know if your grandmother is who we are trying to serve. So, not a joke. Right? I think we need to be clear, who are we serving? If it's your grandmother that we are trying to serve, we really need to speak to your grandma to understand her needs, right? Yeah. So we can't just throw a stone and expect that you will hit all customers on the ground, right? So I think we got to be very clear, who are we trying to serve? What are their specific pinpoints? So we have personas in the bank that cuts across whether it's the less served customers or what we call underserved, right? And what are their pinpoints today that may not be the best served by the existing incumbents, right? And I need to speak the right language here, because I know there's a lot of bankers in the room, right? I think overall, Malaysia has done pretty well from a financial services perspective, especially after the era of fintech, right? So only when there is a challenge in the market, everybody push ourselves to do harder, to think harder, how we can do faster, cheaper, better, right? So with all the rise of fintechs like 10 plus years ago, right? A lot of banks, even the more traditional ones, have all innovated, all transformed. I came from a traditional bank myself. I used to serve traditional banks too, right? And I went through a different path of fintech. So having seen the best and the worst of both worlds, I think it's always about what we are able to do better. Think out of the box. Otherwise, what you do versus what I do is going to serve the same customer. Are we able to really sell 2 credit cards to the same customer? How many apps does one customer need in their phone? how many cards do you need in your phone? Right? If you ask yourselves truly, you will want one that can do it all, one that can give you all, right? And not five for five different purposes. So that's where we need to be uniquely different to be able to differentiate ourselves. But obviously, more difficult to do than to say, which we can discuss a bit later too.
Thanks a lot.